Well, it's little Miss Teeter's first day in the shop. She's doing pretty good so far. Last night went a lot better than I thought it would. I want to get her cage trained because obviously she's gonna have to be spending time in the cage when I'm at work. So I was reluctant to put her in bed with me last night because I want to get her used to the cage. So I put her in her cage before I went to bed. And she probably cried for 45 minutes or so. And, well, I actually don't know how long she cried because apparently she must have quit because I fell asleep. And then about 3:30 in the morning, she must have woke herself up and she started crying again. And I was tired, so I just put her in bed with me. And she wiggled a little bit on my sheets, but actually just my comforter, and the stuff my comforter's made out of, it doesn't really soak in. So probably by next weekend I'm gonna need to wash that thing. But I think she's gonna get the potty training figured out real quick, because if I snatch her up quick enough, she'll stop whittling. And if I set her outside, the first couple times I did it, she just sat there and looked at me, and by the time it got closer to bedtime, I think she'd figured out, hey, once I'm out here, I gotta do something. So if I catch her doing it and I get her outside soon enough, she'll actually finish going outside. Although she does not like being outside. She gets real cold real easy because she's been an indoor dog up until now. But she seems pretty smart, so hopefully everything goes all right. But anyway, on to the project at hand. First things first, gotta tear the rear end on this back apart to replace that there shaft. And I'm not gonna show you the difference between that shaft and the new one I got for it until I get it out. We're gonna keep you in suspense. So, since you already know the drill for getting this apart, I'm gonna go ahead and get everything tore apart, and then before I take that shaft out, what you crying for, girl? Before I get that shaft out, we'll look at the way it travels and see. I'll show you what it's hitting in there, because I know what it's hitting because it's what it hit the first time we did this. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing tore apart again. Okay, so here's what happens. That parallel link right there, the way everything is right now, mind you, the free travel on the lift links is set correct. It's about 1.5 inches, which is what they want. So in theory, that link is adjusted correctly. But with the lever all the way forward, it smacks the servo valve body, which is probably got something to do with why that pin kept shearing off. Although the first time it sheared off, both times it did it, I was using the brush hog on this thing. The first time it did it, I was going down the road to a field, and they had made a cut across the road to put a tile in, and being our county doesn't know how to build roads, they didn't pack it right, and when they repaved it, the pavement sagged. So now there's a dip, and when the rear wheels hit that dip, it bounced the mower and with 3-point all the way up, and that sheared that pin, which was kind of odd. And then last time I did it, I was mowing in a field and I dropped a rear tire in a woodchuck hole with the mower, I don't know, 3 points probably about halfway up. And that time it sheared that pin. So it was obviously striking something, and when, with the way it was acting, it would have been pushing back and in. When the mower dropped, it would have been pushing down and in on the lower links, which would have pulled this arm out, which would have pulled this arm down. So I don't know, but regardless, remember this for when I get that arm out of there. And then we will set that one side by side with the new one I got, and you will see something ain't right. Okay, so this one is one that just came out of the tractor. This is the new one I got from Maybach. Well, it's used, but this is the one that I got from Maybach. For starters, they have a parts breakdown that goes a little bit deeper than even the one on AGCO Parts Buck. And all of the tractors with that top cover, so the 1600, 1800, 1900, might not be the 1800A. I think the A used a different top cover, but don't quote me on that because honestly I've never been around one enough to pay attention. But anyway, the 1600, the 1800C for sure. I think the B, I don't know about the A. The 1900B for sure, I don't know about the A. And then all of the 50 series, and then the 1555 and 1655 and 270 white, all sub to this welded shaft. This is what replaced that one that showed in the parts book being two pieces and the arm was pinned to the shaft. So this is, in theory, the field update for this tractor. That being said, there are a couple very blatantly obvious differences going on here. Firstly, as you can see, two sets of holes, one hole. Secondly, this shaft is polished. It's not chromed, it's just they polished it real good. There was no sense in chroming it for what it's doing. This one is not. This one doesn't even have the same finish on it. This looks like it's just regular cold roll steel. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it on camera, but somebody been doing some serious grinding right here with a grinder. This might have been from me. These sandpaper marks might have been from me the first time I had this thing apart. I can't remember. And by first time I mean like 2 years, 3, 4 years ago. Shit. Last time I had this thing down to Ray and Tool was when I tore it apart the first time. This one I've already, when it first showed up, I stuck it in the vise. This one is welded straight. At first I thought, if you recall, this one is slightly bent. Well, it's not actually bent. The lever is welded onto the shaft crooked. And then if you look at them, although I don't know how well you'll be able to see with that part number on there, but they're not even welded the same. This shaft is slightly longer, which this shaft with the actuation arm, or with the linkage arm pinned to this side, was actually sunk inside the arm by probably at least a 32nd, if not a 16th. This one's long enough that it should be flush with the end of the arm when everything's assembled. It didn't look as the O-ring grooves are roughly, and now this one's out farther. Which that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, because I bet that changed based on depth of insertion into here. If depending on if they jigged it, they should all be the same, which I gotta believe they jigged it. But because it would make sense to have this hole drilled before the final assembly, just because it would have been easier to jig it in the drill press or whatever they were using to drill these holes if it was just the shaft. But I don't know. But anyway, the other thing is, and this one's probably going to be hard to tell on camera because it's not that easy to see in person, but the angle of the holes are different. This one's a fair bit steeper coming out. This one lays flatter. So I think we're on the right track, long story short. So I'm going to throw her back together and get the linkage hook back up, and we will see what it does. All right, so a couple observations here. Firstly, new shaft is in. It still hits the servo valve, but now before, when it hit, the lever was like almost to the end of it. It was like I could fit my thumb in there. and that was it. So it's hitting with the lever higher up in the quadrant now, and with the lever all the way back, which would be the full raise position, the linkage is up higher. So with that in mind, I went down and measured the 1800, and on the 18, the distance between these two pins, those two pins for your adjustment link, is 3.5. This one currently is at 3 1/8. And also on the 1800, with the lever in the full raise position, the arm is down a lot lower. So, with all that being said, the way you adjust these to adjust your full raise height is you lengthen that rod. So, I would be willing to bet that I'm going to have to lengthen this rod to readjust the max lift height now, because I'm be willing to bet that now it's not going to raise all the way. So, that being said, before I put it together, I am going to adjust that to roughly 3.5. Make sure it doesn't hit the servo valve anymore. And then we'll slap her back together and fire it up and readjust the free travel and see where we're at. The nice thing is, the gasket came off in one piece. There ain't a mark, there ain't a scratch, nothing separated. It looks perfect. So even though I've got a new one for it, I'm just going to reuse that gasket because it's only a week old. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with it, so there ain't no sense in not reusing it, really. So, I know it sounds kind of odd coming from me, but if it ain't screwed up, and it hasn't been on there that long, and it's a nice thick gasket, so it can be crushed more than once. If it had come apart and there was a bunch, it had tore, it'd be one thing, but it's a perfect gasket, so we're going to reuse it. Alright, she's all back together, so I guess this is the moment of truth. See if we can get you somewhere we can kind of half-ass see. That ought to work. Oh, shit. Well, we're a lot closer than we were. It's still just a little bit back in the quadrant, but I gained about a 1/4 inch of distance between these two pins. So I guess after that, I don't know what else could be screwed up in there, because nothing else is bent or messed up. So I guess at this point, we'll just see or use it and see what she does. And if it acts fine, I guess we'll roll with it. Interesting. If only they could talk, she could tell me exactly what happened in her lifetime to cause this particular situation. But I'm pretty sure that this shaft is homemade. I don't see any other reason why it would have 2 sets of holes punched in it, and the one I just put in, the end is machined off flat, and this one's got a little button on it, and something's screaming that this thing is homemade. The grinder marks aren't right, and it's just, that was part of the problem. I have no doubt about it. So anyway, I guess move on to servicing her out. Change the oil, change the filter. 3-speed filter should be good. I think I changed that last time I serviced it. I'll have to look in the book. I'm gonna change the filter on the rear end, because that's the filter we put on it when we overhauled the motor, so it's been a while. That's due. So yeah, on to the maintenance shit. Alright, first things first, while I got the oil draining, replace this dang key switch, because it's starting to scare me. Judging by the patina on it, it's original to the tractor, so it's probably about its time anyhow. Huh, made in USA. I'll be damned. Pollak, P-O-L-L-A-K. The original one was Aetna. However you pronounce that, A-E-T-N-A. Trick is getting all the wires off and making sure they go back in the right spot. Okay, so that is a battery lug. And the nice thing is the new terminals are SAE, not metric, because there's some stuff you get that the new parts are metric, which is kind of enough to annoy the crap out of you. I can't remember what we got. I want to say it was something for the 1800, but got it and went to put it on, and none of the damn wrenches fit. It was fucking metric. Huh, interesting. Might have to put a washer on there. You run out of thread. You shouldn't run out of thread. There's plenty of thread left. What happens if I use the original ring?
Huh, interesting. That one tightens up all the way. Oh, that outside thread's boogered up. I'll be damned. Well, I guess we'll keep the original locking ring then. No big deal. Okay, so there's that. Oh, shit. Except I'm not gonna be able to get the nut driver on with it in there. Shoot. And this whole menagerie of crap. Is your accessory terminal. Come on. And then the center should be ignition, or no. Yeah, center is start. Start, ignition, same difference. And it'd be nice if there was a way to get these switches apart, clean them up without ruining them, so you can just reuse the switch, because they're really not, I mean, it works fine, it just got a hang up in it, but they're crimped together, so you can't get them apart without destroying them. That being said, knowing that switch is junk, I'm kind of half tempted to cut it open just because I want to see what the inside looks like. Okay, I guess I should have never tightened that up. Can't get on it with the nut driver when it's actually in the dash. You gotta love these older tractors, though. There's one little wire loom going through the dash that's got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, that's the one I added for the radio. That's not even part of the original harness. We're not going to count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wires in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, 6 original wires, and so there's 7 wires in that dash. That is it. You walk into, or you get in a new tractor, there's 7 wires going to one digital readout.
Okay. That's much nicer.
And get the transmission filter. And before anybody says anything about the fact that it's a Fram filter, I just want to put the caveat in that we hate Fram filters. They're junk. And the only reason that this ended up on here was it seems like, and now the damn socket's stuck, we got this thing back together on a damn Sunday, and back when we did the motor, and we were changing the filters on it, and we didn't have this one. So we ended up having to go to Rural King to get a filter for it, and Rural King carries Fram because, you know, reasons. So it ended up with a Fram filter on it, and that's the only reason it's got a Fram on it. But guess what's going back on? A Baldwin. If I can find the damn hole. Shit. And no, this ain't really any easier from the back, because if you go from the back, your arm's got to be 10 miles long. Actually, the easiest thing to do is just drop the battery box off real quick, but I don't feel like doing that. Damn, the socket is stuck on there. And you can't really get your hand up in there all that great, so it's just easier to snug it with a socket. That should be about right. Well, I got to top the rear end off with 8090, but it's going to have to warm up first because I put it into our, we got a 2-quart oil can that we use for transferring oil, and I put some in there, and it's so thick it won't pour out of the can. So we're going to have to let that warm up a little bit. There's that. Well, she's all serviced out, ready to rock and roll. Engine oil's changed. Oil in the air filter's changed. 3-speed's topped off. Transmission's topped off. Transmission filter's changed. Front axle's greased. Throw-out bearings greased. Rear axles are greased. So yeah. Not the only thing I didn't do was clean the cap and rotor, but it shouldn't need it. It runs fine. Still not 100% satisfied with that 3-point, but
short of having two of them tore apart right side by side so that you can look and say, okay, this is different. I don't know what else to do other than buy all the guts and replace everything in there, which is a distinct possibility. If it does this shit again, I'm just gonna, you know what, replace it all. Tired of chasing gremlins. But until it comes to that, we're gonna try it and see what it does. So anyhow, also, because I said earlier that I was gonna tear it apart, I tore the key switch apart. Like I say, it would be really nice if there was a way to get these things apart without being destructive, but there's just not. Because really, the only thing wrong with it, there was a little bit of corrosion inside the aluminum, making it stick. But anyway, it's pretty simple how it works. This is the rotating assembly. And the way they made it, you can just change out this centerpiece for whatever key, or however they were going to key it. Obviously, this is set up for an Oliver key that looks like that. And you got this spring here, which engages that dog there cast into the housing. And that's the return spring that returns it back to the run position after you start it. And then that has this spring that goes in the back of it, and this is the contact plate that engages those two lugs and then that center guide pin, and that goes on there like so, and then that spring would push it back against the lug plate, whatever you want to call that. And basically that contactor plate just has a piece of Bakelite riveted to it that is your insulator for the no power, no start position. And then I'm assuming that exposed piece of copper right there is going to be the start lug. Because how is it? That's accessory, battery, start, and ignition. So the start is that guy right there, which is tied into that center lug. So actually that can't be, it's got to be that guy is the start lug. So I wonder if that one is the accessory lug, because you can click the key back on this and have your accessory without ignition. So I'm wondering if that's what that guy is. But anyway, these two right here would probably be your two run. One's gonna be run, and then one's gonna be accessory run. So anyway, that's what the inside of a key switch looks like. I was curious, and obviously that I'm not going to put a switch back in a tractor that has a catch in it, because I don't want to burn her starter up. So I figured, why not just tear this one apart and sacrifice it. But anyway, you guys will probably notice Teeter's not out here. Dad got home from running errands, and he wanted to take her inside, and she's been inside with him and Mom ever since. Mom went and got groceries and bought her a bunch of toys, so I guess they wore her out. She's in there sleeping right now, so puppy things. Plus, I don't think she was handling being out here too well, being that she's so stinking short. I think, although you can't smell it being 6 foot up in the air like a human being is, I think that like the smell of the oil and everything was hanging down by the ground, and I don't think she was liking that. So gonna have to be careful having her out here, at least for the rest of winter. In the summer, it ain't gonna bother her none. She can come and go as she pleases, because the doors will be open. But we'll train her to be a shop dog yet. Just got to get her a little bigger so she's not so vulnerable to everything. But anyway, I guess we're gonna call this one a wrap. And like I say, the only thing I can do is see what that 3-point does, and if it still does what it's doing, my next step is going to be buy everything in that linkage and replace all of it, because I don't know what the hell else it could be. I don't know. I'm confused. It's better than it's definitely better than it was. We're heading in the right direction, changing that shaft. I'm wondering, it's got me wondering if whatever destructive situation led to them having to fabricable that shaft screwed something else up in there. I don't know. Like I say, if she could talk and tell us, if any of them could talk and tell us exactly what the problem was, this job would be so much easier. Can you tell us what the bad farmer did to you, girl? No? Damn. But anyway, I guess that is it for this one. And we will catch you guys on the next one.